"Are you blind? Look at my car." The shout ripped through the hotel driveway like a slap. Guests turned. Bellboys froze. A manager stiffened. And the young valet standing beside the midnight blue luxury sedan, Eli Menson, 24, quietly dressed in a hotel's black and gold uniform, stood perfectly still as Victor Dane, a wealthy business mogul, stormed toward him. Victor jabbed a finger at a small scratch on the bumper. "You think someone like you should even be touching a car like this? You people never understand value." Eli's jaw tightened, but he didn't break. "I wasn't the last to park." "Shut up," Victor barked. His son, Aiden, stood beside him, arms folded, smirking. "Dad, what did you expect? Look at him. They don't care." The humiliation was loud. Public. Cruel. Eli lowered his gaze, not out of fear, but to stop himself from saying what was burning inside. The manager rushed forward with shaky hands. "Mr. Dane, we'll review our logs." "Let's not." "No. Fire him," Victor declared. "I want him gone by the end of the night." Aiden laughed under his breath. That was the moment, the crack in the world, where this story truly began. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, we want to thank you for your support, love, and kindness. We wouldn't have come this far without you. Subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us continue to bring you great content. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue to tell powerful stories. Your support means everything. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. Eli wasn't new to disrespect. He worked at Ridgecrest Grand Hotel, one of the city's most elite luxury locations, a place where wealthy families paraded wealth, corporate giants strutted ego, and service workers were background noise. But Victor Dane and his son, they were in a league of their own. For months, they belittled him, accused him of mishandling the car, made jokes about people like him, handed him keys like tossing scraps to a dog. Aiden sometimes mimicked Eli's accent, trying to draw a laugh from his friends. Victor treated him as if he was uneducated, untrained, unimportant. To them, he wasn't a worker. He was furniture. But Eli, he wasn't who they assumed. He was taking night classes in emergency medical response. He read medical books during lunch. He practiced CPR techniques during breaks. He studied quietly, patiently, determinedly, because he wanted a better future. No one at the hotel knew. He kept it private. He didn't talk, he learned. Yet every day, he endured the same pattern. Invisible labor, visible disrespect. One afternoon, as Victor barked at Eli for a delay that wasn't his fault, Mrs. Dane, Elena, stepped out of the car. Her eyes softened when she looked at Eli. She had warned her husband hundreds of times about his treatment of people. "Victor, stop," she said quietly. "This isn't right." Victor snapped. "Elena, stay out of it." Aiden grinned at his father's cruelty, emboldened by it. But Elena's eyes lingered on Eli. She saw something her husband refused to, a young man trying, enduring, striving, and swallowing pain. That evening, Eli went on break behind the hotel. Sitting on a concrete step, his friend Marcus, the older chief concierge, joined him. "You okay?" Marcus asked gently. Eli shrugged. "I'm fine. It's just every day it's something new." Marcus sighed. "You have a good heart, kid. But some people, they only see what they want to see." Eli exhaled slowly. "Sometimes it feels like no matter what I do, I'll always be dirt under someone's shoe." Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "You keep showing up with dignity. One day, life returns a favor. You'll see." Eli wanted to believe that, but the world didn't seem to care. 2 weeks later, the hotel buzzed like a hive. Ridgecrest was hosting the Grand Business Honor Gala, a high-profile city event. CEOs, politicians, celebrities, all attending. And of course, Victor Dane, nominated for Businessman of the Year. Eli braced himself. The Danes were always worse when the world revolved around them. When the family's luxury sedan screeched into the driveway that night, Aiden tossed keys at Eli. Literally tossed, like throwing trash. "Don't mess up," he mocked. "If you scratch it again, maybe you'll get demoted to sweeping sidewalks." Victor smirked at his son's cruelty. Elena, she simply looked tired. Their cruelty was a performance, loud, casual, effortless. Eli took the keys silently. parked the car carefully, and returned to the driveway, heart heavy but steady. Inside the lobby, the gala glittered with wealth, but outside the ballroom, chaos erupted. Victor Dane suddenly stumbled, then collapsed. Aiden screamed, "Elena, Dad, Dad!" People froze. Security panicked. Mrs. Dane cried out in terror. "Someone help, please!" Guests backed away. Staff hesitated. They were trained for emergencies but not medical response. Aiden's eyes darted wildly around the lobby. "Somebody help him. He's not breathing." And then Eli stepped forward. The valet they mocked. The nobody. The man they treated like dirt. He knelt beside Victor, checked his pulse, and began CPR with calm, practiced precision. Marcus shouted, "Give him space. Let him work." Aiden's voice cracked. "Please, please save him." Eli didn't answer. He focused. He compressed. He breathed. He worked. Elena sobbed beside him. "Please, please don't let him die." The room watched in stunned silence as Eli stayed locked in, stable, steady, strong, until Victor finally gasped. A slow breath. Then another. Elena covered her mouth in relief. Aiden fell to his knees, trembling. Paramedics arrived moments later, taking over with urgency. But the work had been done. Victor was alive because of the man he had tried to destroy. And everyone knew it. Everyone saw it. Everyone felt the weight shift. The world had turned. Life had flipped the script. The tables were moving, and justice was on its way. The attorney cleared his throat. "Before we begin, Mr. Thompson left a personal message recorded in writing. His instructions were explicit. The letter must be read before the distribution of assets." Joanna rolled her eyes. Annabelle's foot was tapping. Impatience, entitlement, or fear, maybe all three. Daniel sat between them, shoulders tight but face calm. He looked like a man preparing himself to swallow fire. Without flinching, the attorney unfolded the letter. A silence so heavy fell over the room that even the air seemed terrified to move. The letter began with a tone none of them expected. Soft, regretful, almost trembling. "To my wife Joanna, my daughter Annabelle, and my son Daniel." Joanna snorted. "His son," she muttered sarcastically under her breath, just loud enough for Daniel to hear. But Daniel didn't react. His eyes stayed fixed forward. The attorney continued reading. "Daniel, I owe you the truth. A truth that I denied you your whole life. A truth that has haunted me every day." Annabelle shifted in her seat. Joanna stiffened. The attorney paused, glanced at them, then kept reading. 25 years ago, before my marriage to Joanna, I made a mistake. A night fueled by selfishness. That night resulted in a child. That child was you, Daniel." The room detonated. Annabelle gasped. Joanna slapped the table. Daniel's breath caught, but he didn't move. "No, no, no." Joanna spat. "This is absurd. He's lying." But the attorney raised a hand to quiet her. "There is more. I found out about you when you were 3 years old. Your mother contacted me. I panicked. I was afraid of losing the perfect image I built. So I did nothing. And when she struggled, when she gave you up, I still did nothing." A tear slid down Daniel's cheek. Quietly, almost with apology, Annabelle stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. Joanna looked like she'd swallowed glass. "When the adoption agency placed you with us years later, I recognized you immediately. I knew you were my son. I knew what I had done. I also knew bringing you into my home under false pretenses was the least I could do to right my wrong." Joanna shot to her feet. He knew. He knew this boy was his. "And he didn't tell me. For years." The attorney kept reading. "I failed you, Daniel. I watched your pain. I watched your mistreatment. I watched you shrink yourself because you didn't feel wanted. And instead of standing beside you, I stood behind my silence." Daniel's chest rose and felt like he was holding 50 memories down with one breath. Annabelle looked away, shame creeping across her face for the first time. Joanna was trembling. Anger, betrayal, or the humiliation of realizing her cruelty had been witnessed all along. The attorney continued. I leave this world knowing that I cannot undo the harm I caused. But I also leave knowing that the truth must rise, even if I never did. Daniel, I hope what comes next provides you with the security, respect, and identity I never gave you. The attorney folded the letter. You may sit, Mrs. Thompson, he said quietly. Joanna didn't. She stayed standing, frozen. The attorney picked up the will and read the lines that shattered the last of the old power structure. I, Richard Thompson, hereby declare that the entirety of my estate, including our home assets, business shares, savings, vehicles, and properties, shall be inherited by my biological son, Daniel. Silence. The kind of silence that happens right before lightning strikes. Annabelle's jaw dropped. Joanna staggered back like she'd been punched. Daniel blinked once, twice. A tremor ran through his fingers, but his face remained unreadable. The attorney continued. He is my only son by blood, the child I abandoned, the child I owe everything, and the only one who has shown me humility, grace, and forgiveness even without knowing the truth. Annabelle burst into tears. Joanna didn't blink. She stared at the attorney with a numb, hollow expression. The attorney closed the folder. That concludes the reading of the will. How could he do this? Joanna whispered. Her voice cracked. Her hand shook violently. For 20 years, I raised him, fed him, housed him, and now I'm just, what? Discarded. She turned to Daniel. The first time in years, she looked directly at him instead of through him. What did you do to him? She demanded. What spell did you cast? What game are you playing? Mom, stop! Annabelle cried. Please stop. But Joanna was unraveling. This is M.Y. House. My money, my life, you don't deserve. The attorney cut in firmly. Mrs. Thompson, that house was bought before your marriage. It has always legally belonged to your husband. He had full rights to leave it to whomever he wished. Joanna collapsed into her chair, her face folded into her palms. For the first time, Daniel saw something he had never seen from her. Not anger, not contempt, not superiority, but fear, real fear. He stood slowly, voice quiet but steady. I never asked for this. I didn't know. I'm still processing. Joanna lifted her head, eyes red. You'll throw us out? That's what you want? Revenge? Daniel shook his head. I want nothing but peace. I never wanted to ruin your lives. You already did, she whispered. No, Daniel replied softly. Dad did. Annabelle broke down in tears. Daniel, I'm sorry. For everything. I was awful to you. I don't even know why. I'm so ashamed. Daniel swallowed hard. It's okay. No, she said, shaking her head violently. It's not. The attorney gave the final administrative instructions, then left the room quietly. And just like that, the three Thompsons were left alone with the ashes of the life they once pretended was perfect. Over the days that followed, word spread. The powerful family everyone admired, broken. The golden daughter and the pristine wife, not the heirs. The quiet adopted son they ignored, the owner of everything. Joanna couldn't step outside without hearing whispers. Annabelle couldn't look friends in the eye. People talked. People judged. But Daniel didn't participate. He didn't celebrate. He didn't boast. He didn't punish. He simply lived. Quietly, respectfully, kindly, the same way he always had. And that, more than anything, humbled everyone even more. 3 weeks after the reading, Joanna knocked on Daniel's bedroom door, something she had never done before. When he opened it, she stood with swollen eyes and shaking hands. I got some of my things, she said. I'll leave tomorrow. Daniel nodded slowly. You can stay as long as you want. She shook her head. No, I can't. Not after how I treated you. I don't deserve your kindness. Her voice broke. What hurts the most is realizing your father saw everything I did to you, and still, he left you everything, because you earned what I threw away. She wiped a tear. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm sorry, Daniel. Truly. Daniel let out a trembling breath. I forgive you. Why? She cried. Because Someone has to break the cycle. She covered her face and sobbed. Quietly, helplessly, like a lifetime of pride was draining out of her all at once. Daniel put a gentle hand on her shoulder, not because she deserved it, but because he did. Annabelle approached him days later. "I know I can't erase what I did," she said, voice shaky, "but I want to change. I want to be someone you can be proud to call family. If you'll let me." Daniel smiled faintly. "Let's start small," he said. "A conversation, a meal, a walk. We can rebuild slowly." Annabelle hugged him, not out of pity, but out of genuine remorse. And for the first time in years, Daniel hugged her back. In the following months, Daniel made decisions that shocked everyone even more than the will. He gave Joanna a small property and a monthly stipend, enough for her to live comfortably without dependence, but not enough to live in arrogance. He kept Annabelle involved in the family business, but she now answered to him, and he donated a significant portion of his inheritance to community homes for children without stable families. He wanted to be the father he wished he had. He became the man he needed growing up, not wealthy, not powerful, but whole. Years later, people still whisper about the Thompsons, not because of the scandal, but because of the transformation. The boy they dismissed had become the man who redefined leadership. The mother who mistreated him had become quiet, humbled, and surprisingly gentle, shaped by the very son she once rejected. The sister who mocked him became his closest ally. And somewhere in that story was a reminder that life doesn't need permission to correct injustice. Sometimes the tables turn quietly. Sometimes they flip like a storm. And sometimes they turn in the exact direction of the person who deserves it most. Kindness is never weakness. Cruelty is never forgotten, not by people, not by life. When power shifts, character is exposed. Forgiveness is not about excusing the past. It is about freeing the future. And the greatest victories are not the ones that destroy others, but the ones that rebuild ourselves.